Now, in the UK, there's growing concern over the prevalence and effect of Sharia courts. There are now at least 85 of these Islamic councils, as they call them, operating across the country. Now, my next guest will go into more detail, but these religious bodies are not actually courts. They don't have any real legal standing, but they are predominantly presided over by men, and they hold immense influence over some Muslims in the UK who go to these councils for rulings on marriages and family matters and things like this. They treat them like they were a court, making adjudications on Islamic law, Sharia law. Joining me now to discuss this in more detail, Credlin regular and author Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Ayaan, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here tonight. I think most people in Australia would be shocked to hear of the fact that there are at least 85 Sharia councils in operation. It's almost unfathomable here. What is the awareness like of this in the UK?
Well, the awareness in the UK is, I would say it's pretty strong. But a few years ago, I remember a debate, this is as far back as 2016, maybe even farther back, 2006, when the practice of Sharia legal practices were happening in Britain illegally. So, for instance, people would discover that something like this was happening with husbands presenting with multiple wives. And this continued, and for a long time there was this debate, what should we do about it? Unfortunately, the Muslim communities that now form parallel communities within Britain decided to go ahead and implement these Sharia laws. And the debate led to a formalization of these Sharia courts, which is unfortunate. And so when you say it is informal, that's true, but it has legal consequences for women and children, because primarily what they have been adjudicating is marriage, divorce, custody, and inheritance. And in all of these areas, women are completely, I would say, they don't have the same rights that they are granted in the national law. And this has been a shameful silence of feminists.
So how does this work? How does a quasi-court actually have the power to do any of this under religious law?
So in these parallel communities or ghettos, the Muslims who live there, it starts with quote unquote volunteering, but over time, when an entire neighborhood or an entire town is, the majority of that is Muslims, then these Sharia courts, they pop up. And the people who go there, the women who are taken there, they feel that the laws and the adjudication in these courts is legally binding for them. It is a blatant violation of the national laws. And this is what the Islamist groups want. They want a parallel society. It's insidious. It's by, Sharia by stealth. It's an Islamization of their surroundings. But I think the real blame lies with the British government, because it is the British government that has allowed this to happen.
Indeed, and I think part of the problem, of course, is that in the UK, it's about 6.5% of the population is Muslim. That's the latest numbers we have. It's probably higher now. It's 15% in London. Now, that as a concentration of the population is double what it is in Australia. So, of course, we sit here and think, well, we've never seen this before. We don't think it's a thing. But the problem is that governments, when you have such a large population of Muslim people or any other group, start to feel like they have to pander to them. Presumably, that's what's happening here, and the UK is not the only place that should be worried about this.
No, absolutely. You've seen it in other European countries. My advice to the Australian government is to pass a law right now saying only Australian laws apply in Australia, and they apply uniformly to everyone. And I think I would also urge feminists in Australia to stand up for the rights of girls, Muslim girls and Muslim women, because we always know, and I've seen this in Europe, first it is the Muslim girls and women, and then it is other women and, Jewish women, etc. So I would advise the Australian government, before they are put in a situation where they have to formalize a violation of Australian laws to pass a law and to criminalize Sharia or any other foreign law.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali, you are a brave woman. You've been speaking out on this stuff for a very long time. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.